I'm David.
Hi, I'm Johnny, and this is Table Talk. We created this space to invite conversations that impact our community.
We wanted to influence you, yes, you, in a way where whether you're positive or negative, anyone can relate. So come along on this journey with us and let's think,
Grow
and learn
together.
Unless someone with HIV offers the information up to you, you should never ask, do you know where you got HIV? You probably also do not want to ask something like, how long have you had it? See, these questions are questions that could take someone back mentally to a place that they either never want to revisit again or never planned to in the first place. Another question, under no circumstances do you ever ask anyone with HIV, are you clean? Because see, here's the thing. Stigma is still alive and well today, especially in the community of people living with HIV. So I remember when I was first diagnosed, and that question of cleanliness constantly replayed in my mind. Will someone want to date me? Will my family want to be around me? Will someone even want to love the real me, even after they know of my diagnosis? So when I think about questions like those and the people that are asking those questions, here's what you never want to do. You never want to put a person with HIV in an uncomfortable mental state, because it's too easy for people living with HIV who are already dealing with side effects of medication. One of them, which is most common, is depression. You never want to push people with HIV to the point where they never want to think about not just loving someone again, but even living to see the next day. So it took me a minute to get okay with being a person who was diagnosed, who was treated, and someone who was actually in effective antiretroviral therapy. So I had to become okay with the fact that this has happened. This is what you do next. You get into great care. You find out everything that you need to know about how this virus breeds, how it lives, and how it's going to affect you, because it affects us all differently. So once you find out that information and find out the different drug interactions that can make sure that you are living your best life and that the HIV is under control and you are undetectable, then you can mentally prepare yourself to continue to live, to continue to do everything you wanted to do before you found out that diagnosis. It is possible. You too can live your best life even after the diagnosis.
So I remember it was one night, David and I were not getting along. We weren't kind of meshing. It was just going downhill. I'm just gonna be honest. And you know, being a new couple, sometimes you argue, sometimes you have disagreements, but it was a moment that happened where it changed everything for me as far as what a disagreement with this person would look like from this point on. I allowed something to come out of my mouth that should have never come out of my mouth. And it was in the heat of the moment, and it's not an excuse, but it was in the heat of the moment. It was a you moment, and then it was, and that's why you have what you have. And it came out. And I knew instantly when it came out, this is wrong. I have crossed the line. It was his indirect body motions. It was everything about him was changing, and it was changing rapidly. And it was one of those, you know how people say the train has left the station and you can't pull it back? It was one of those moments, because he completely shut down on me. And he completely removed himself from the entire space that we were sharing together in that instance. And I just remember that he left, he went upstairs, and the comment that I heard was, "You don't think if I could change this, I would. I can't scrub it off, I can't shower it off, I can't get rid of this." And you know, it was in that moment, as the person, I love this person who's HIV positive. Why in this moment have I chosen to hurt this person? And it was a little while before we got to a point where we could sit face to face and talk about it. But one thing from the experience that I learned was that I have a responsibility to cover and protect him with everything that I have, and I should never be the person to tear him down or pull him down. And I just think it was just a day that changed everything in our relationship. Because if you ask me again, I would never ever say or even allude to anything like that, because I think a lot of times people that may be living with HIV, people may feel like, oh, well, you did this to get that, or you did that to get that. Some people may have come into contact with this by no fault of their own. No, it does take two to tango, I get that, but sometimes people lie. Sometimes people don't tell the truth about what's going on with them. Sometimes people leave out little details, and I think that if you're in a relationship with the person who's HIV positive, which I am, my advice to you is you have to learn how to emotionally uplift, emotionally protect, and cover your mate. This is a journey, and I've been told this from day one. My doctor told me from day one. I remember, and if you watch any of our videos, you already know what I'm going to say, that the first time I told my doctor about my partner status, he said it can work perfectly as long as you can answer one question. Are you ready to become a caretaker if anything should happen to him? And I said yes. And so keeping that in the forefront of my thinking moving forward, I never want to do anything that damages him emotionally to where he will have any room or reason to question if something were to happen to him. Is this somebody that's going to judge me, or is this someone who's going to be there for me?
You know, there was a really good thing that your doctor said to you about being the caretaker of someone who is living with HIV. And if you can answer that question sympathetically, then you should be okay. Because I think in anyone's mind, the first thing when they hear caretaker is that this person living with HIV, maybe the medications aren't working anymore, and their physical health is starting to fail. They're physically going through changes that they can't do anything about. But nobody thinks about the emotional well-being of the person living with HIV. So I think that when you are a person who is HIV positive, you know, there are going to be some days where you just will not want to do it. That means you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to talk to people, you don't want nobody to talk to you, you want to completely forget that this has been a part of your life for however long it has been. And like he said in that discussion or that argument at that point in time was going, that was the last thing that I thought that would come from somebody that said that they loved me. Even though we were dating, even though we were still trying to get to know each other in that phase, but it was still the fact that that's the last thing I thought would ever come out of his mouth. Yes, that could probably come from somebody else that, you know, maybe didn't know me or was trying to, you know, hurt me for whatever reason, but never him. So I think that when going forward, if you are in a getting to know you stage with someone who is HIV positive, you have to make sure that you, like Johnny, from what his doctor spoke of, is able to be the right caretaker, but not just physically,
right,
emotionally and mentally as well.
Right, and you also too, again, I think that from that experience, you know, there is disagreements can be healthy, but you have to learn how to have a healthy disagreement. And a lot of times when you get into conflict with people, you want to start, as they say, going for the jugular. Ain't that the word? Okay, going for the jugular. But that's not a route you want to take with the person who is positive. As he said, you have to think about their mental capacity. You have to make sure you're not the setback for them going all the way back to day one and making them have to relive and rehash all those thoughts that they had thought they had gotten over. And I think that that's what I learned from that moment in our relationship. And I do call that, you know, there have been some moments in our relationship that have been turning points for me, that being one of them, because that was a moment that I saw true hurt. I really saw true hurt from him. And one thing that he did that he probably not even knowing that I paid attention to is after the statement was made, seriously, he was like in the shower about less than 20 minutes after the comment was made, and I just felt like, damn, I effed this up. And I hate to say it like that, but it was my fault, and I have to own that. But I'm glad that we've gotten to a point where we can now healthily disagree, and we can, you know, talk instead of talking at each other. We can talk where each other can hear what the other is saying.
That's what we think. We want to know what you think. Email us at support@pauselikesolutions.com.
You can follow us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at David and Johnny, and YouTube, David Johnny.
We'll see you next time right here at the table.